Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
The latest on the NBA draft, rumors at the top. We think it's Fultz. We're pretty sure it's Ball, although then a late report yesterday that the Lakers were interested in moving the number 2 pick back to Sacramento for number 5 and number 10. That way it would arm them with more ammunition for going after Paul George. Then maybe they still get that point guard they like at 5 after trading D'Angelo Russell yesterday to the Nets. So there's so many different things going on, and we're still not sure, kind of gun-to-head moment on the Celtics at number 3.
Whoa, so can we just...
do whatever you want, Will
This
Cain.
is part of my mock draft nerd. So let's just say the Lakers did that deal with the Kings. From 2 back to 5 and 10. What are the odds they end up with Lonzo Ball at 5 anyway? Because the Kings...
Not good, because I think Phoenix takes him at 4.
Would take him. That's the stopping
I'd heard
point.
Phoenix would have taken him 1 if they won the lottery.
So Phoenix is a stopping point because you're assuming, based upon what you're hearing, the Kings would be trading up for Fox. They're in love with De'Aaron Fox, is the story. So they would theoretically take Fox at 2. Celtics, I don't know what at 3 at this point. Jackson, Tatum.
I believe Ainge likes Jackson and Tatum, and that's why he wasn't afraid to make the deal and move without concern of what the Lakers might do. If the Lakers secretly like Josh Jackson, they go, we still like Tatum too. And that's why I think they pulled this move off and started the conversation Friday, and then it was confirmed over the weekend, and then legally happened, Monday? So,
but then Phoenix steals Ball at 4, so the Lakers can't drop back to 5 and still get their wish.
I like the top of this draft a lot. I've been saying it for weeks, and I'd imagine that's what Ainge did. Some teams are different on this. Some teams truly think it's Fultz by himself and that you're trading out of this one-tier guy and then it's everyone else. I think it's a bunch of guys at the top. Maybe the Lakers feel the exact same way. Hey, we like Lonzo. We know everybody thinks we're going to take him. I know that's what everybody want. But you know what? What if we can move back to 5, still get one of these top 5 guys we have graded really equally? We get another piece at 10. There's usually a little upset. That's what teams call it. When you map it out, 1 through 10, what you think is going to happen. They'll go, all right, but there's always an upset. Maybe there's 2 upsets. And so we're picking at 12, and the guy that we never thought we'd see at 12, all of a sudden is at 12 because we've got a couple upsets. Mm-hmm. So that's maybe what the Lakers are thinking. But more importantly, if you go back to last night, this all plays into this whole offseason thing that I want to talk about here at the top of this hour with Will Cain, is that last night the Paul George thing cranks up where you go, Lakers pull this deal, they get rid of D'Angelo Russell, they get rid of Mozgov's contract, more importantly, they bring back Brook Lopez. They get 27-28. Is 27-28 and another player like a Clarkson or a Julius Randle they don't like enough for Paul George? And I'm going, wait a minute. I get the Pacers have no leverage. I get that Paul George has told the world he wants out of there. I get that a lot of people think that Paul George is going to end up there for free. But if you're Kevin Pritchard, I would just go, hey, guess what? I know I have no leverage. Everybody be bummed out. Pacers basketball. We're all bummed out together. Let's do this. See you in late October. You getting your tickets? Grab a beer, because I'm not trading Paul George for 2 irrelevant picks at the end of the first round and a player that I don't want to re-sign. And that's why I think even if it were true, not true, Mark Stein was saying this is what the Lakers are hoping to do. I didn't know that it was ever close to actually happening. I get wanting. I get having desire, right? But that might be the Sacramento part of this, that the Lakers needed one of those other picks to actually really entice the Pacers for Paul George.
I'm with you. That package for Paul George seems ridiculous. Why would the Pacers do that deal? But on the other hand, I think the idea of trading the second pick in the draft for Paul George is ridiculous from the Lakers side. You do not have to pay the second pick in the draft to get Paul George. So the true value for Paul George, though, lies somewhere in between, right? What is that? And the answer is only what someone else is willing to pay. But I don't know. The competition for Paul George right now would be the Cavs, I guess.
Well, yes. It's not a sort of. It's an absolute.
Here's the problem with the Cavs. I still have problem with the Cavs from the Pacers scenario as well. I know you're big on Kevin Love, but I don't understand.
Well, I just think he's almost become disrespected in this process.
And it's not about Kevin Love in this respect.
Right.
Why trade 1 year of Paul George for 2 years of Kevin Love? You're not rebuilding around Kevin Love. So you're taking away your superstar to add what? A player who's a slight drop down and an extra year of him. You're not rebuilding. What are you doing there? Treading water? Why does that help the Pacers to do that deal?
That's why that deal's more likely a third team guy. But I would rather have Kevin Love for 2 years and then figure out, I would rather If I were offered these two things, let me do it this way. Yeah. Kevin Love at like north of $20 million a year for the next 2 years, but the money part of it isn't really that significant because you're going to have to pay anybody, and the rebuild is not going to be solved in this first year. Would you rather have 27 and 28 and a younger player like a Clarkson or a Randall? And I just think everybody's kind of off all these guys now. Maybe Randall finds a way, and Clarkson's probably a little underrated. But they're nothing you're going to get really excited about. Would you rather have 27, 28 in one of those dudes, or have a Kevin Love under contract for the next 2 years where you know what? What about the trade deadline next February? Don't you think there'd be more of a market for Kevin Love to flip him into something else if you were the Pacers?
Do you know what I do in that scenario, Ryan? I really do. I just hold Paul George. The market has to get better than one of those two options.
That's what I mean with the Pritchard thing. I'd be like, I know I'm supposedly no leverage guy, and I can't. The whole you can't go into the season with Paul George in these circumstances. The locker room's going to be a mess. I would make shirts that say "We're a mess, Pacers basketball," because I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't do that deal, and I would go. I'm just going to wait until the trade deadline. I'm not going to let the Magic get a better offer of pick and player for Serge Ibaka than I'm getting in the offseason for Paul George. I'm not going to do it.
Right. And this leads us to what you want to talk about, which is the NBA offseason. And it is awesome. But everyone is saying that. Everyone is. Well, you know why? Because it's so clearly awesome. What's unique about it? Here's what's unique about the NBA offseason. It's all packed into a 2 or 3 week period where it's also including the NBA draft and, we just crowned a champion. All within about 2 or 3 weeks, we get all of that. That's the only thing that makes it possible of competing with the NFL, which I told you at the top of the show, the NFL draft is the best sporting event of the year. And I wasn't being hyperbolic with that. I do think it is. For the same reason, every sports fan in America is in. We all have hope. We all have action. We all have something on the line here. We're all going to get something out of this. It's incredibly exciting for every single fan of every single team.
With Will Cain, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot, even if you have insurance with another company, see how much you can save before you switch. But it does feel like it's more. And I don't want to say the phrase with social media now, but it's true. Last night, I get home from work. It is nonstop. Dwight Howard's traded. Here's what they want with Paul George. Jimmy Butler wants to stay with Chicago. Here's the new Lakers rumor with the Sacramento thing. Like, these are real. And the best part for the NBA, none of this is really negative. It's actually all fun. When you think about the daily consciousness of what we talked about with NFL's topics, concussions, how can the NFL prevent societal issues within their own league? I made the joke the other day. Baseball's like, can you guys talk about our steroid issue again? Because you guys never talk about us anymore. You never talk about it anymore with me. That's baseball. Basketball. I'm glad you got that. Basketball. This is actually all fun, and it doesn't even have to be real, and people can't get enough of it. What this thing has become in these 3 to 4 weeks, and I really think it started in 2010 with the LeBron stuff and the decision, which everyone hated, but what you didn't realize is that you were getting in early on this obsession. It used to be hot stove with us as kids in baseball, and you're like, what's going on at the Winter Park? Oh my gosh, who's there? Is that Dan Duquette outside the Marriott? And you would get really excited. This is happening in real time, and we're all caught up with it, and there's almost nothing negative other than things being wrong.
And Twitter's the lobby of the Marriott.
Absolutely.
It's the lobby of the Marriott. By the way, it's not better this year. Let's not forget last year, right? Where Kevin
Durant.
I'm talking about Jordan. DeAndre Jordan is locked in a house.
Michael. Did he get traded?
No, DeAndre Jordan's locked in a house in Houston.
Just don't ever say Jordan when you say DeAndre Jordan again. Is that a rule? Is that okay?
Yeah. You got me there. No. You know what? No, I'm doing this for DeAndre.
By the way, there's a rumor with him that they're exploring trades. That just happened today.
That's right.
And no one does Twitter better than NBA Twitter.
Within a year, DeAndre Jordan.
Maybe
AKA,
Get Out got canceled Twitter.
A.K.A. Jordan.
A.K.A. also known.
Has been locked in a house and had the entire Clippers organization fly to Houston to show him how much they love him. A year later, he's on the block.
Get in touch with us. 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed is at Russillo Show.
Mark Cuban's laughing at that.
With Will Cain. Jeff Goodman, the latest on all of these rumors and that Celtics pick at number 3. We'll do it next. It's ESPN Radio. Hey, everyone. Ryen Russillo here. Support for the Ryen Russillo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Russillo, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030. Life advice is coming up with Will Cain. His maybe just financial help. IRS debt, Will Cain, you got. Actually, I don't know. I'm not going to say no to that call, but I just don't know if it'd be entertaining at all. The Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. The NBA draft is tomorrow. All of our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. In New York for the draft, it is Jeff Goodman. Jeff, if we know it's Fultz and we're pretty sure it's Ball at 2, can we start with at least that Lakers rumor, how real you think it may have been about the Lakers looking or kicking the tires on moving out of 2 to see if they could get both number 5 and number 10 from Sacramento?
I think everybody in the draft kind of agrees, Ryan, with the fact that there's not a whole lot of separation from 1 to 5, which means there's not a whole lot of separation from Lonzo Ball to De'Aaron Fox. The one trait they both share, they make people better around him. Lonzo Ball, obviously an elite passer, elite court vision. De'Aaron Fox, pretty darn good passer with court vision himself, and has a different level of speed than anybody else in this draft. So I think if the Lakers are able to make a move that can help free up space to get Paul George, yet still get the point guard that they feel like they can build around, they would do it. And that's what they're looking at right here. Listen, I had one NBA GM tell me this morning, the next super team, he thinks it's going to be the LA Lakers. It's going to take time, but he thinks at some point that's going to be the next super team in the NBA.
Wow. That's more bold than I think at first blush it appears, because the Boston Celtics and the 76ers, I think, are both in the process of putting together super teams right now, Jeff. It's Will Cain. So on that note, where do you see the Celtics right now at pick 3? Which way are they leaning? Trade, Tatum, Jackson? Which way are they going?
I talked to both Jackson and Tatum this morning, and neither one have any clue right now. Obviously, if you look at it and you say Josh Jackson did not come to Boston and work out for the Celtics, and I asked them, I said, why didn't you? So, well, initially they had the number 1 pick, and we didn't think that I was really in the equation for the number 1 pick. Then it flipped to 3, and we just didn't have enough time. And I just kind of looked at him and smiled because, last I checked, Boston, and I know this because I'm from Boston, is only about a 5-hour drive from New York, even less. So he could have made it here in time, working out after the trade was made to flip picks. It leads me to believe, again, the Celtics are going in the route of Jason Tatum. I'm not sure. Nobody's sure with Danny Ainge. Ryan knows this better than anybody. Tatum fits what they need better. He's skilled offensively. I think Josh Jackson's a little bit like Jaylen Brown, the guy they picked last year at number 3. I think he's a better version of Jaylen Brown. But Tatum, man, he can just score the basketball in every way possible, and he's a better overall player than he showed at Duke last year. I think he's more versatile than people understand.
Jeff knows the workout routine and better in Waltham than anybody because he's always there at the Celtics facilities. He's got the green light to go in, and I remember.
You can't tell anybody that, Ryan. You got to keep that quiet.
I'm sorry. Oh, really? I wasn't supposed to say anything? I thought you've told people that before. I used to go to him, and I remember he brought back Rondo. Seriously, I know it was 3. Was it 4 times before the Rondo draft? And I remember
it might have been 4. Yeah, it might have been. It was definitely 3.
He was there all the time, and that's why there's a part of me that sits here today, Jeff, and goes, I know everybody's saying Jackson, but I wonder if it is Tatum. Like, if they got him in. Like, Ainge would just draft whoever he wants, so I don't want to make too much of it. But I do think there's something to do when you can kind of pay attention to how the workouts play out at the very end. Like, there's a lot of times I'll look back at the workout schedule and go, okay, that pick makes sense there because they brought the guy in a second time right before the draft. Even more important, Ryan, is the medical. And to get the chance to sit down and talk to Josh Jackson and ask him some of the questions about his off-the-court issues that hampered him a little bit at Kansas. I asked him that. I said, how much do you think that will play into teams, drafting you or you sliding? He said, well, they've all asked me about it. I answer it truthfully, and I don't think it'll affect me, but he doesn't know. Again, I think ultimately the Celtics go the safe choice here. And the safe choice to me is Jason Tatum from a standpoint that I think his floor is higher than anybody in this draft. I don't think there's any way in my mind
that Jason Tatum's not a very good NBA player. Is he going to be a number one guy, a franchise changer? No, I don't think so. But I don't think anybody in this draft is a franchise changer in terms of like a top 5 guy in the NBA in a few years. I think you're going to get a bunch of really good players.
1 through 10, 1 through 11. Jeff, you hear the same names over and over, from Fultz to Markkanen or Fultz to Zach Collins. The same pool of 10 or 11 guys are mentioned. But Ryan was talking about earlier, organizations, franchises use the term upsets a lot. There's going to be 1 or 2 upsets, let's say, in that top 10 pick, those top 10 picks. If you were going to say what the upsets might be, either somebody coming in or somebody dropping out of that top 10, 11 picks, what would you guess it is?
Well, I know Donovan Mitchell worked out for the Knicks today. I don't know if they'll take him, but I think some 2-guard, some wing is going to jump in there because, you know, really the only guy you've got who's a straight 2 who could score right now is Malik Monk. And I think if you look at it, you say to yourself, you know, point guards, there could be 5 in the top 10, but somebody could slide, whether it's Frank Ntilikina. I think I pronounced it wrong, even though he told me the right way to pronounce it this morning, and I think I screwed it up again there. But
how's his English, Jeff?
Really good, really. His week is insane, guys. So he played Game 4 of the finals, his finals in France on Monday night. After they played, he got in a flight, came here to New York, got in yesterday, media, everything all day today, draft tomorrow. He will then get on a plane to go back to France after the draft at 2 a.m., get in, and play Game 5, the deciding Game 5 to win it all. So he could have a 48-hour stretch where basically he gets drafted in the lottery and then wins a championship in France. He's an awesome kid, not a good kid, like unbelievable.
What's going on with Dennis Smith at NC State? Because if you watch him, as I know you do a ton, like I think about that Duke game, and I know that's peak Dennis Smith, but when he won at Duke, He was incredible. He looked like a guy that should be mentioned with everybody at the top. We know the body language stuff at the end of the year is not what scouts are looking for, but the season was kind of a mess. Gottfried is out, but he's still coaching. How do you see his story playing out on Thursday night? Because there is a lot of talent there, but it doesn't seem like anybody wants to risk it comparing him to the other point guards.
Yeah, and part of the problem is, right, you know, you compare it, people will say, well, Fultz didn't win games either, neither did Dennis Smith. Well, first of all, NC State had loads more talent than Washington did. Also, Fultz was consistent when he was on the court. He put up numbers. He produced every game. Dennis Smith didn't. You know, even small things, guys, like this. Dennis Smith overslept today. He didn't show up for the media stuff till late.
Really?
You know, like, who does that? And I like Dennis Smith. I like him a lot. But, again, you've got to do the right things, prepare, produce. He wasn't consistent in that regard, and I think a lot of NBA guys have questions. He's a high-risk, high-reward guy, and, you know, I think ultimately he goes somewhere in that
I think he just became a Dallas Maverick. I think you saying he overslept today just made him a Dallas Maverick. I'm a Dallas Maverick fan, Jeff, and it's the question is who's going to be sitting around left at 9? Is it Ntilikina? Am I saying that right, Ryan? or is it Dennis Smith? And I think you just answered the question.
Well, I think here's the deal with Dennis Smith is if you're a small market team, you take a shot on him. If you know you're not going to get a free agent, you know, big-time free agent, you got to roll the dice on a guy like Dennis Smith and say, hey, listen, we may miss, but if we hit it, we got our top 5. I mean, he's got top 5 point guard talent in the NBA. It's just, does he win games? Does he come to play all the time? You know, is he a leader? Is he that guy that can be a consistent piece that you can rely on? And he has not been that, certainly at NC State. But in his defense, it was a mess under Mark Gottfried. A mess.
Good stuff. We'll probably check in with you tomorrow, Jeff. Thank you.
You got it, guys.
Coverage of the NBA draft tomorrow night, ESPN main channel, obviously 7 Eastern, and I'll have post-draft wrap-up with Van Pelt. The Russillo Show reminding you can watch all 3 hours of the show on ESPN News. You look bummed out. We'll discuss this Dennis Smith thing a little bit later with in-house Mavs fan who you can now get life advice from. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Life advice with Will Cain. It's ESPN Radio.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Hardship. My grandmother would go through it every month to pay her insurance bill. First, she would handwrite a paper check in cursive. Then, using her own tongue, she would wet a stamp for an envelope. Today, however, we need not weary our hands and tongues. Today, we can pay our Geico bill with the Geico app. Away with hardship, in with bill pay on the Geico app. Thank you.
We had a great thing just pop up, some sound that we brought in, a player being talked about, and we're not going to tell you who the coach is. We're not going to tell you who the player is. We're just going to ask you, who is this guy talking about? All right? So
sounds good.
Little mystery on the show today. Life advice, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776, with Will Cain, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. Life advice is brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel and get a big gift card. Every trip you buy, you'll love Upside.com. It's Upside.com.
I would just walk in and go, what's the plan, bro? Why are you sleeping until 1?
We need to start stripping it back down to the base.
It's your life and our advice.
Let me fix your life, not just your back porch.
Okay, let's do this. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
You've done this once before, right?
This is life advice?
Yes.
Oh, now I can hear. We had technical difficulties. It was going to be hard for me to give life advice when I couldn't hear a single question firing my way.
Now you're locked in. Let's start in your home state, Dylan in Texas.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Dylan?
Big fans of the show. Long story short, this girl I've had previous relations with, she told me she's divorcing her husband soon. She's in town. She's visiting for an undetermined amount of time. We've had 2 meetups since she's been here in town. First night was good. Second night, not so good.
Scandalous.
How do I play this? Do I play it cool guy, just listening as a friend, or go full force like, hey, let's do this. What's up?
Sounds like you needed advice a few months prior to all
You're
this.
so far beyond the advice, Dennis.
Yes,
you're
you're
so
right.
far beyond it, man. Like, I want to back you up 5 steps and then give you advice.
10 steps.
What does meetup
It
mean?
sounds like you don't care at all, right? So,
I mean,
in a way, why are you even
you're
asking?
right. You're right, Ryan.
Whatever we're going to say isn't going to matter.
How about this? What do you want to hear, Dennis?
No, actually, it does matter. I love this segment. I value y'all's opinions. I really do.
But what do you want to? I'm serious. What do you want to hear? What would make you feel good?
Well, I can't say that on air. What would make me feel good?
All right. I think we all know what you're going to do. I love that you love the show. I love that you asked us, but you've already made up your mind. You just called in. You know?
Yeah, actually, no. I'm really lost. Like, I don't know to play.
Do you feel guilty?
Like,
do you feel guilty hanging out with her?
No, not at all. And I don't think she feels guilty hanging out with me.
What does what does hanging out mean? What are y'all
I think
doing?
we're good. I think we understand.
No,
that. 2017. What are you, 100?
I don't think you're on the same page. I don't think he's saying what you're saying.
Oh, I think he is.
The first night was just a one-on-one, have a few drinks at the bar. That's it. We both went to separate homes after.
See?
The second night was a bigger group outing. Still nothing happened. But that night was more distant. It was a little more distant. But I think it's because the numbers game was
That's
a
not your
huge
scene.
group.
Yeah.
See, he wasn't saying the same thing as you, Ryan. It's 2014 here when he
You're
did
right.
advice in
You're
the first
right.
place.
I jumped to conclusions. I totally jumped to conclusions.
Here's the serious
We gotta
advice,
get
really
this
quick.
moving,
I know.
right?
Here's the advice. Don't do anything until she's divorced. Easy advice.
Yeah. Don't be the reason. Let them be the reason. They're not in love anymore. Brandon in Connecticut.
Hey guys, how are you? Big fan of the show.
Great. Thanks, man.
My question is, I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years. She put on a little bit of weight, which I don't care about because I'm a big dude myself.
Sound big.
6'8", 300. Yeah, just throw it out there.
Stats.
But what do? I'm not leaving. I don't plan on going. I'm not straying. I'm faithful to her, but she just, I know it's about, I can tell her I love her. She's beautiful. It doesn't matter what I tell her as long as she feels it. I need your help, guys.
But you want her to lose the pounds? Is that what you're saying? So you're trying to.
If she does it, it doesn't matter because it's not going to change how I feel about her.
Oh, so you're just trying.
I'm not going anywhere, but I know she wants to for herself.
Oh, well, then just clip this segment and play her it. I mean,
seriously, yeah. Download the podcast, play that.
There you go.
Subscribe.
Okay.
Let her know you're willing to tell the world. You're willing to proclaim your love from the mountaintops, no matter how big she gets.
Okay, next one. Let's go to Sean in Maine. Sean, you're on with Will Cain. Life advice.
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
All right. Fiance broke up with me a few months back.
Fiance, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Still in love with her. No way. It is life. Not sure if I should stick around and see if it'll still something might come out of it or head out of town and move to a different state. I got family down in a different state, so.
So fiance dumps him. He's still in love with her. Sounds like he's about to lose it on this phone call. Wants to see if he should stick around in the same town, see if they can work this thing out, or leave the state, move somewhere else.
Hey, man, I don't know you. We're not buddies, but I'm going to do the thing that everybody should do for you. You know, every guy should have this buddy to tell him the thing he doesn't want to hear. You got to go, man. You got to shut it down and get out of town. That's what's best for you, man. You agree, Ryan?
I gotta
Are you
know,
hesitating?
There's different dynamics at work here. You know, like some people are people that always get back together, and then it's like, okay, maybe you can make it work. But if you do the get back together after they've been with somebody else, it just doesn't ever work. Like, oh, hey, there's Doug that you dated for a year in between us being engaged and then getting married and having kids. I saw him at the hardware store. I like his new truck.
I feel for that dude. It's time to move on. Got to pull that Band-Aid off and get out of here.
Yeah, because you know what? If you sit around like a lost puppy dog, there's no chance you're getting her back. If you move and you're killing it, you're South Beach guy now, just Instagram left and right, she'll probably get back together with you, you know? Get
And
some
then you
abs.
won't want her.
Right, yeah. Then you're like, are you serious? I didn't even like you. It took warm weather and science for me to understand that. Patrick in Texas, one more.
Gentlemen, how are you doing? Love the show.
Thank you.
So I'm a physician, and there's a physician's dining room right across from the operating room. What happens on many occasions is I'll finish a case, going to the doctor's dining room, starving, and the place has been wiped out. There's about 7 or 8 physicians that go in there, fill up to-go boxes, fill up to-go bags, and just run out of there. Should I say anything?
Absolutely.
Yes, today.
Absolutely.
You're
I've
saving
never
lives.
understood. I don't. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well,
What kind of doctors are they?
So it can be anybody from a pediatrician to,
You got status on him. Keep going.
Yeah, so all types of doctors, but I just don't understand the need to take extra food and, like, take it home with you. You're a physician. You can probably afford a water bottle. You don't need 7.
Isn't that something? People.
That's beat. I would
take and take and take.
You got to figure out a way to go over and just get 5 minutes in and tell them. Are you a big guy, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm pretty about 6'2".
Yeah,
and you're in the operating room. So
yeah, this is.
I want to rank these doctors for real. I want to. You got dermatologists in there taking food.
Hey, that was a Seinfeld episode. Definitely don't go down that road.
I got more.
Yeah.
I already said a pediatrician was trying to outrank him.
Yeah, you got to let him know, man, because it's obviously you're frustrated, and it sounds like without knowing all the, like, who's taking the other side of this. You get a starving doctor on the phone right now.
I know what Patrick's problem is. You don't want to be the narc, right? You don't want to be that guy around the hospital.
I don't want to be that guy, exactly. It's like, well, they're like, well, how's it affecting you? And I'm like, well, you've cleaned it out. I've got nothing. I've got to run up to the store.
Right. That's a real thing that's happening.
Let me tell you something, Patrick. As somebody who's been that guy, who's been accused of being that guy, you just do what's right, okay? You let the chips fall where they may. You do what's right.
Yeah. Trying to run a society here. All right, thank you, Patrick. That's life advice here on the Russillo Show. Okay, so here is the sound that we're going to play. Is it the first one or the second one, Cerruti? It's number 2 of this guy. So all the way to the right. Okay, the one in the middle. So, all right. So it doesn't say who it is. I don't think anybody's going to recognize the voice. Can you guess the NBA player that is being talked about here?
Listen, this is an easy guy to like now. This isn't some, guy that's hard to deal with. I mean, he's bright, he's fun-loving, he's got great sense of humor, great wit, and, he's traveled around. I mean...
Okay, we're going to tell you the answer to that next.
Your guess is in now.
On ESPN Radio. Teddy Bruschi on the NBA draft next hour. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that off. We usually can try a bunch of different things with Teddy Bruschi. Maybe that works. Maybe it doesn't. Will Cain's with us today on the Russillo Show. Baseball season rolls along. Tune in tonight as the Rockies host the Diamondbacks. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. We just had a conversation about whether or not anybody here on the show has a six-pack. We know Cerruti doesn't. That let a lot of people down. I have been very open that I do not have one. And now people want to know if Will Cain does. So if you'd hated him before.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
You don't? All right. We may get back to that in a very short amount of time. Like, I'm talking minutes.
Okay.
Because it may be more interesting than who is this NBA person talking about. Which NBA player is being talked about here?
Listen, this is an easy guy to like now. This isn't some, guy that's hard to deal with. I mean, he's bright, he's fun-loving, he's got great sense of humor, great wit, and, he's traveled around. I mean, I think after you make your first move, it becomes easier. I think he'll fit in very quickly.
Would you have guessed that, Will, if you didn't know? Would you guess who that NBA head coach is talking about?
There's one phrase in there that I think tips everybody off because it's become a cliche to describe this guy. Fun-loving.
Dwight Howard.
Right? Who else do you call fun-loving? That's Dwight Howard. That's his brand.
Is
Fun-loving.
it though? What about
it's a tarnished brand.
Annoyed, bad in locker room? That also feels to be accurate.
Yeah.
If we're going on brand here.
Do you not think that was how people described Dwight Howard for quite some time? It's like this script has been used for 10 straight years. Yes? Except for the moving on part, he's moved around a lot.
I would like to know how many teams that got rid of him or moved on from him. And by the way, all of them still, other than Atlanta here, Houston still wanted to keep the asset. The Lakers still wanted to keep the asset. Orlando did not want to be forced and having to move on from him. But I don't know that they would be like, the first thing we think of is fun-loving.
That's Dwight.
That's the we just got Dwight Howard.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, mystery solved. We'll talk a little bit more about LeBron in the top of the hour. But the six-pack thing is always. So you had one at one point, genetically gifted, worked at it. What do you weigh?
I weigh 172.
And you're about, what, 6'1"?
6'2".
6'2". 6'2", 172.
Skinny. Thin. Svelte.
Sinewy.
Wiry.
Wiry works. Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop probably played like, he played about 150. I don't know how tall Iggy Pop is. A lot of people did not get the Iggy Pop reference.
I know what you're talking about.
I know you did. Other people didn't. So,
no, look, okay.
Six-pack's a real game changer for a guy.
Is it?
Yeah, I think, especially as you get a little bit older. Yeah, you know what? Like if your shirt's off and you're at the beach and you're...
Is that right, Smallman?
Yeah. Can you help us out here?
Six-pack's a game changer?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh, okay. I just want you to do this for me real quick. Would you rank the muscle groups that you would like to see at the lake? Okay. Let's work our way from 5 to 1. So there's some suspense.
Well, I'm prepared for this. You tell me that I need muscle power rankings before you ask me.
Oh, you're unprepared?
I would go, arms first. Shoulders, arms, right? First.
That's number 1 or that's number 5?
Number 1.
Oh, wow. Arms.
I don't expect many guys, especially in my demographic, to have six-packs. Most,
It's beyond the pale of expectation.
Smallman's already given up on hoping she's going to get a guy from a boy band.
Well, we've talked about this, about fattractive, right? Like, most guys that I'm attracted to, my friends are like, is he ripped or is he fat?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, fattractive.
Fattractive, yeah.
That's one of my favorite phrases from the show ever, fattractive.
Is he ripped or is he fat?
Yeah, my friends always say I'm going to marry a guy, and as we're, leaving the church, walking down the aisle, we'll be like, is he ripped or fat? I can't tell.
Ripped or fat or jacked or fat? Because ripped is usually, it's pretty clear you're ripped or you're fat.
Yeah.
But then there's sometimes, I get accused of being jacked fat all the time.
It's one of those things where, if you poke a guy's arm, you don't know if it's hard or if your finger will sink in,
Yeah, but see, I can have decent arms, but I also could be fat as hell down there. You don't know.
Down where?
Midsection. You get me the wrong camera angle, I look like Eddie Lacy at a walkthrough. But I know I'm not fat. I'm pretty close to DMing strangers nudes. No, the next guy that calls me fat, I may just drop him a nude in his DM and go, "What's up now?" I don't even think I get in trouble for that.
10 minutes from DMing a nude out as we speak.
I think that's on brand.
What's the closest you come to DMing?
DMing a guy a nude?
No. Have you gone topless DM?
No, God.
Have you gone just arm flex?
I take my shirts off all the time. So that's no that's nothing. That's no secret there. On my Instagram, I don't have a shirt on.
We've got so many conversations I want to keep going at the air.
I would like the next guy that trolls me is like, whatever, fatso. What if he just opened up and had a DM of a nude of me? Looking, not a six-pack, but solid obliques. Does he come back and go, hey, I'm wrong?
No.
Well, good tweet. Good tweet. Not bad tweet. Good tweet.
He sends you crying emoji. Which, by the way, there's so many great things. I didn't know you get called that.
Fat?
Yeah.
All the time. Why it's all about LeBron, even when it isn't. Next.